You're listening to the Imprint Podcast. I'm your host, Micah, and today's episode is titled Life Is. This poem is written by me. Life is looking up, is never giving up, is never folding when life gets tough. Life is holding on, is learning to have strength, is making light of utter darkness. Life is pain, is finding ways to heal, is teaching lessons, is learning lessons, is lessons in disguise, is less of you and more for others. Life is imperfections, is changing, is incomplete if you never try. Life is placing all the right bets, is winning the game, or is living with regret for bad decisions made. Life is real. You can't fake it. Life is giving without taking. Life is knowing when to take, is knowing what to take from it. Life is what you choose, is what you make of it. So I wrote this poem on November 9th of 2018. And honestly, I don't remember writing it, so I don't have any background info or context to give. Which honestly, as I go back through all of my writing, there is a lot that I do remember, there's a lot I don't remember, and there's a lot that just I cannot remember the context. But it's okay because we're still here to relive it anyway. Like I said, this one was written by me, and honestly, it's pretty clear to tell that I'm talking about life in general and just kind of reflecting on all the things that kind of debunk what we believe life is about in our mind. And I feel like we're taught to believe, oh, life is just whatever you want it to be, and you get to live at your own free will and do what you want, and everything is going to be great and flowers, and you have all this opportunity. But we also don't realize that even though life is what you make it and you do have free will, it doesn't mean that everything is going to go your way. And I feel like that's what people believe growing up. Like, life is just going to be whatever I decide. And sometimes it doesn't work out that way. This was, like I said, written in 2018 in November. So I had just finished, or was about to finish, my first semester at the college I graduated from. So I could see myself writing this, just kind of thinking about life since I've started college for real. Because before I was at the college I graduated from, I was at another school online, and it didn't really work out. It was just way too expensive, so I wound up transferring. And I started to get a little bit more of a deeper understanding of life during that time, because obviously I was learning basic things at a collegiate level. So I could definitely see where this was going. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a deep dive and take it piece by piece. So the first stanza says, life is looking up, is never giving up, is never folding when life gets tough. That's more of coming from a perseverance standpoint. So the poem is starting off like, no matter what happens in life, you got to just keep going. The second stanza says, life is holding on, is learning to have strength, is making light of utter darkness. So a little bit more of the perseverance, and then some more, or it's starting to introduce like doing it yourself, making light of utter darkness. So like finding a way to get through when there's nothing to help you, there's no tools. The third stanza says, life is pain, is finding ways to heal, is teaching lessons, is learning lessons, is lessons in disguise, is less of you and more for others. So this kind of switches gears a little bit and goes into more of the teaching that life does. And I like this. I like that I wrote it like this because it's a little bit of a play on words going on. So like I say, is teaching lessons, is learning lessons, is lessons in disguise, is less of you and more for others. So in life, you find yourself learning a lot, but you don't realize how much you teach. So I want to break that part down. I can say in the last year, I have learned so much. However, I have also been in a position of power to where I have people that work for me. And I'm starting to learn now how much I have taught them and how much they have gained from me. It's amazing to see, because even though you don't call yourself a teacher, you still are in a position of teaching. And it could be in the most subtle ways. Life is also about learning lessons. So not necessarily, it being a bad thing, but you're going to learn lessons from other people's experience. You're going to learn lessons from your own experience. Life is lessons in disguise. So sometimes I find myself, just living life, and something will happen, good or bad, and I look back and be like, that was supposed to teach me patience. That was supposed to teach me how to humble myself. That was supposed to teach me servant leadership. That was supposed to teach me to be calm. That was supposed to teach me to lean into God's understanding of things and not my own understanding of things. So, and like I said, it could be in the most subtle way. It could be in the most profound way. But it's about recognizing that was a lesson that I needed to learn. And then the last part says less of you and more for others. And I truly believe this. I truly believe that we live this life for each other as God allows us to. I think about everybody's gifts and talents, and I think of, pastors and our bosses and our parents. Like, if God didn't instill those specific things needed to be successful in those people, then we wouldn't get anything from it, and we wouldn't be helped, and we wouldn't be able to be confident enough to do our own thing. And so I just think that's a beautiful way to think about life, is to know that you're not just living for yourself, but you're living for that one person that really needs to hear your story. You're living for that child that you just had. You're living for a congregation. And so I really think deeply about things like that. The fourth stanza says, life is imperfections, it's changing, it's incomplete if you never try. And so this is more going towards, this is shifting another gear into just making mistakes, because life is full of mistakes. But it's changing. And so that means that it's not always going to be good. It's not always going to be bad. Even though you may be in a place where you feel like, I'm not quite where I want to be, it's still a part of your journey. It's still a part of your story. And ultimately, it's incomplete if you never try. So even if you try and fail, at least you tried. At least you have something to tell about. At least you have some story to talk about. Okay, the next one says, life is placing all the right bets, is winning the game, or is living with regret for bad decisions made. So this is going more towards taking risk, placing the right bets, making the right moves. And you either can be happy about what you've done or be regretful for what you've done because of the choices that you make. And so that's giving you more of a perspective of how much power you actually hold. And sometimes I think about my life, and I think about, if I didn't do this, if I didn't respond to that one email, if I didn't fill out that one application, if I didn't take one step in the right direction, if I didn't slip up and make that one mistake, like, how would my life be right now? And when you really start to think in retrospect what caused you to be where you are in life, it puts things into a completely different perspective. And for me, now that I have graduated college, and I've been graduated for 2 years now, I think about all those times, and every college student can agree to this, all those times I thought, I'm going to give up, I'm going to drop out, I don't want to do this anymore, probably don't want this major, I don't know about this, if I would have followed through with all of those thoughts, I don't know where I would be right now. And I'm so glad that I was able to finish that race, because it took everything out of me, my entire college experience. But it was worth it, because I see how certain things I learned I wouldn't have been able to learn anywhere else except through a college experience. So the next one says, life is real. You can't fake it. That's pretty much self-explanatory. Life is real. Everything that happens to you is real. There is nothing fake. We don't live in a cartoon although some people think we do. They think we're in a fantasy world, but this is real. And you have to continue it on. You can't rewind and go back. You can't erase anything. You just have to accept it and move on. Life is giving without taking, is what the next stanza says. And this is thinking more of a servant's heart. Life is about giving just as Christ gave to us. And when Christ gave to us, he did not expect anything in return. And that is life, whether you're a Christian or not. Life is giving for the sake of others without expecting anything in return. And that is what good character is knowing that I've given my all to help this person. I've given my all to help this cause. And if I gain anything for my benefit, so be it. But if not, I'm going to be just as happy and just as content. And then the next one says, life is knowing when to take, is knowing what to take from it. So I like this line because it's kind of debunking in a way the stanza before where it says life is giving without taking. So it's like, yes, we should give in life without expecting anything in return, but also we need to learn what we should be taking from life. We should be taking the good, we should be taking the bad, we should be taking the experiences we have, not so much trying to figure out what can life do for me, and thinking of it in a selfish way, but thinking of it more of a humble way. What can I get from life? And when I say knowing what to take from it, that's basically what I mean. I want to be able to help people from life. I want to take that opportunity. That is what I am talking about in that stanza. And then the last stanza says, life is what you choose, is what you make of it. You have to be willing to say, I accept this or I don't accept this, and figure out how to move on from that. So I think that the overall message is live life and remember all the things that come with it. Don't get caught up too much in the future or the past, but just kind of have this mindset of whatever is going to happen is going to happen, and I'm going to trust that if I make a mistake, I'm going to trust that I can pick myself up and make myself better from it. So why is this poem important, and how can we learn from it? I believe this poem is important and relevant right now because it's fine to live life every day and just go through the motions, but if you're not gaining anything of value from it, it's kind of like, what's the point? And so this poem is kind of teaching, make sure you remember all of the things life has to offer, the lessons, the decisions, knowing how to get up when things get tough, knowing how to move forward in darkness when you may be the only person around you that has the light, knowing what to take from it, knowing when to give, knowing how much to give. That is what makes life worth living. And to me, it's very easy to get caught up in the mundane, monotone way of living life, and we kind of lose focus and lose sight of what we're really supposed to be doing here. And my advice to everyone listening is, if you don't know what your purpose is, God is waiting to tell you. And so if you feel like you're stuck, if you feel like, the opposite of everything I talked about in this poem, it's very, very important that you find your purpose, find your why, because that's what's going to make life more enjoyable for you. It's going to give you more of a story to tell. So that is my take on this poem that I really don't remember writing. And I thought by reading it again, I was going to be like, yeah, I remember this, but I really don't. And that's fine. That's okay. I kind of like reading things without any context because I'm able to give a real authentic meaning instead of, giving meaning based off of how I felt in that moment. So I hope you enjoyed this written piece of the journey, and I hope I can inspire you to write your own. And I will talk to you in the next episode.